All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the Think Sacred podcast. Gotta turn this down a little bit. My name is Zach, and I'm here with my father, Phil. And if you guys are new to the podcast, what we do is we have a discussion, and usually Phil takes up the part of the theologist, or so to speak. He looks at whatever subject we're talking about or any questions that we have, and he takes a more biblical approach, and then I take the view of the philosopher and try to bring in a little bit more of standard worldview, or what I believe most people believe. I try to ask those questions or bring that part in. But generally the format goes, we'll talk a little bit about our last podcast. We'll address some comments that we got, and then we'll talk about the subject of today. I guess today we're thinking we're going to start off with faith, right? We want to talk about faith.
I think that's a good thing to approach, and then we'll just see where it leads. Also, one other thing too, we've mentioned it in the first couple of podcasts, is we don't prepare for these things, so to speak. I mean, we wanted these to kind of be real conversations that you and I actually would have. Out in the kitchen, in the living room, in the car as we're driving, whatever. So that's why we kind of do it as such, right? And so when you brought up that we're going to talk about faith today, you brought that up about a minute ago.
Yeah, literally.
And so I think it's a great subject.
Well, yeah, because that's where I usually get the best stuff from you. If like when we're just talking in general, I want to know what you actually know versus what you can like research and everything. Because I could go out there and I can research any topic, and I swear I could rip apart anybody's viewpoint. You know what I mean? Like if you go out there, if you have enough prep time, you can research anything and be on any side of any subject, and you can win the debate. But that's not what I want to do. I want us to talk and learn. I want to continue to learn from you the things that I haven't learned. Like in a few of the episodes and back in the past, we've hit a few little one-liners that you've had that I just hadn't considered, and when I stumble across those, it's like, oh wow, crap, that's a great one. You know what I mean? Even if I've played around in the realm of those similar ideas, you hit upon one that just you hit perfectly, and that's the stuff I'm looking for.
Well, I do think it's healthy to go into a conversation, right? It's one thing to actually have a debate format in school, right, where you have winners and losers, so to speak. It's another thing to have a real conversation with someone, and it's easy as a human being to try to win a conversation or win over the person. There's some churches out there that actually have that term, and I'm like, I don't know if really that is really a good way to say it. We are just trying to, we want to convince the other person, but we're trying to have a conversation with someone about something that we feel passionate about, right? Yeah. And so it's not, we're gonna be passionate about our position in certain respects. Sometimes more so than others, depending on what subject we're approaching. But doggone it, I mean, let's try to, and it's not easy all the time. But I'm, hopefully we can try to be civil in our conversation, right? And then we can be civil in other conversations when someone has an opposing point of view, and we just want to reason with that person, reason with a real person.
Yeah, and going back to what I said in a previous episode, when you're arguing with someone of a different viewpoint, like you can present all the facts in the world to them, and it's not going to convince them. You know what I mean? It takes something more. You got to understand a little bit deeper, and you got to be able to put forth a more convincing argument other than just facts. You know what I mean? Because like people get facts spat at them all the time. You know what I mean? And people get numb to that kind of stuff, and so it requires a little bit more thinking. It requires a little bit more finesse. And anyways. Well, I mean, speaking of passion and everything, we were talking about the last episode. It's interesting. So I went back and I watched it all. I watched it almost immediately after I left here, actually, after it got uploaded. I watched it that night, and I think it's a very good episode, but I think I am certainly a little high blood pressure, and I think I really do think it is because of the events, because of what happened with Charlie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I think, and I had told you before we started the podcast, it had affected me like on Wednesday. It hit pretty hard. It's pretty weird or too, because like I said, I mean, I don't watch him all the time. I watch him every once in a while. Some of his shorts show up, and I'll watch one or two of them or whatever they like. And then I had told you in the first podcast, the very first episode, I said I don't necessarily care for some of the ways that he engages with other people, you know what I mean? But then we had also said, would absolutely defend his right to freely speak, you know what I mean, in whatever manner he chooses. And so it was a very interesting thing. So dealing with it with the last podcast, yeah, I think I was a little, you know what I mean?
It was tough though, because and we actually said this previously, so I don't want to drag this on too much, because we actually talked about it at the beginning of the last podcast. But if you think about it, we had the podcast on Monday, right? Yeah. And then you said, hey, I really want to talk about freedom in the next one. That's what you said. Yeah. And then Thursday comes, and then he's assassinated in between there. He has freedom on his chest. He's trying to invoke freedom to other people. His freedom is twofold, kind of like ours is. And hopefully we were trying to understand the difference in the two in the last podcast. But doggone it, but that was just man, it's a really bad word. Yeah. It was just a horrible circumstance. But we're trying to say, we're going to talk about freedom. His freedom is freedom in Christ and freedom to freely speak in a free country, right? Yep. And so it's kind of twofold, but he actually, I think, does a good job, did a good job understanding the difference between the two, right? And so we like that. We're passionate about that. And then he gets assassinated. Honestly, I mean, there's no other way to put it. Yeah. And so, there were some emotions in the room because of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, it's just, there's only a few moments in my life where I've ever experienced that form of
things coming together.
Yeah, coincidence, or just a connection in that kind of way where it's like, and it's weird because it's like you were saying, it's not a direct connection. You know, we don't do the exact same thing that Charlie Kirk does or whatever. We are, I mean, it's just so weird. It's undescribable.
Yeah, and as we said in the last one, we're trying not to be political in this podcast at all, but basically it's just it was again having the right to do what he did is something that we obviously don't want it taken away now. Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to belabor it because we talked about it in the last one, and I could drone on for a long time about that. So.
Yeah, we could literally, Well, I mean, we basically did the whole last episode, and so I mean, that's literally, we really could go on with this forever. I mean, so, anyways, let's get back. There was a few comments on the last video, or the shorts of the last video. We had this one here. We'll let you address this first one. This first one was because you were speaking in this short, and the truth sets you free. Understanding the freedom in Christ. And then the comment was by Sans so cool. He says, okay, I would like to make sure slavery isn't a sin. It's a weird comment. What do you have to say?
The two things about this, because we actually talked about, we saw this about 5 minutes before we actually started this podcast, right? The short had nothing to do with that at all. I was talking about freedom in Christ because Christ set you free. Had nothing to do with slavery at all. And yes, slavery is a sin, right? Now, we understand that we talked about it, and I don't know there are any short to address that, but we were talking about the difference between slavery in the Old Testament versus slavery that most Americans understand. That's a whole different thing. But so I'm not saying, but slavery in the world, in the Americas, we know that was sinful. Absolutely. So let's not say that it wasn't. I
Yeah.
appreciate a comment, but I totally disagree with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't part of the subject matter at hand. So,
Yeah, that short that you're talking about, that
Mhm.
pip where we actually talked about the difference between,
Biblical
biblical slavery,
Uh,
then also historical slavery, and then what most people think slavery is, which is like the modern version of slavery, which is like American post-civil or pre-Civil War slavery, which is there's many different forms. There's also like indentured servitude. That's a completely different thing, but you could consider that slavery as well.
yeah, yeah.
So that was that one. Now, I posted the short where I'm talking about the Nuremberg trials, and I actually have 3 comments. Actually, there are 5 comments, but 2 are commenting on comments. So, the first one by Luca Banozik, 821, says, "What does that have to do with with Nuremberg?" So in the short, I'm talking about the Nuremberg trials because we're talking about um, we had decided, basically the whole world had decided that when the Nazis came and they took normal people in Germany, like police officers in Germany, the Nazis would come and they would force the police officers to do horrific acts, such as executing innocent people, right? Or executing Jews, or helping them find Jews that are in hiding and stuff like that, right? So in the Nuremberg trials, the whole world decided, this is like, we all decided that that is um, you are still guilty if you are the innocent cop that is being led to do evil things by the Nazis. So someone's behind your back with a gun and they're telling you to do something, right? And if you go ahead and do it, then you are just as guilty as them. What you are supposed to do, this is what the Nuremberg trials determined, was that what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to not do what they tell you.
It was about authority, right? So it was
Yeah.
about defining, like, when should you defy authority?
Yeah.
When in fact the Bible kind of talks about, Paul and Peter talks about not listen to authority and respect authority, but maybe there's circumstances
right
where,
there. That's great, because what it would be is if somebody's forcing you to do evil.
Yeah, you actually mentioned Nuremberg because they were innocent. They were telling them and basically forcing them to kill innocent people.
Yeah.
And in Nuremberg, like you said, they determined that those people that listened to that authority and killed innocent people were guilty.
Because their excuse was, this was the excuse of the people at Nuremberg, the defendants, basically. Mm-hmm. They were saying that we didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. If we didn't do it, the Nazis were going to kill us. And the Nuremberg, basically, they're saying that's the consequences.
Yeah, yeah.
You should have let them kill you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I hope that answered your question, Luca. Thank you for the comment. The next one was by ML Usera 2000. It says, "When do the Gaza trials begin?" I don't know. That might be a little different than you that might go a different way than you think it would go. It's a completely different thing. I mean, World War II, literally,
one doesn't have let me just say, one doesn't have to do with the other.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like comparing apples and oranges. So I don't know what the question's all about.
When you're talking about World War II is like, it's the entire world. The Nuremberg trials, every country is on the panel. You know what I mean? Including Japanese people. There are Japanese people on the jury for the Nuremberg trials.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, and a lot of people hated it. There was a lot of other countries that were saying they shouldn't be on the trial. They shouldn't be here, and they should not have a vote. And they still let them on. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah. So I don't think that would go the way you would want it to go. But thank you for the comment, anyways. And then the last one, Randy Lay I assume this is in more so comments to, us talking about Charlie Kirk. It says the world could use some real justice. So I don't know if I can't say that I disagree. The world could use some real justice. So I don't know.
Can I comment on that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, understand that these shorts right here, I would love for the people actually to watch the entirety of the video, because some of these shorts that come out are, it's a tool that you're using. And some of the shorts, we understand the context, but if you have an outsider looking at these without seeing the whole video, there's a lot of things that may appear out of context and may appear a little bit odd as to what we're saying. So it would, I would love for those to see the whole video. But that's a very broad comment. Yeah, we all want justice, but then how do you bring about justice, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a completely different thing. But actually, to tell you the truth, though, the shorts have gotten us a lot more subscribers.
Good.
So when people watch the shorts, it seems like they come over from the shorts and then they subscribe to the channel.
Awesome.
So, so it's been pretty good.
Any more?
Our shorts have over like 13,000 views altogether or something like that. So.
Well, again, like I said in the last one, mugs and T-shirts, we have to start selling them. Start ordering them.
All right. Okay. So we're all done with that. All right. So faith. Let's talk about faith.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I know exactly where to go in the Bible. Do you mind if I go in the Bible?
yeah, of course. Go in the Bible.
So let me just kind of put forth that that if you've listened to me if you've listened to me in the past, you understand that I'm very skeptical of the church overall, right? and it sounds.
Are you?
Yeah. Yes,
I don't know if it sounds like that.
Oh, I totally am.
No, I'm joking.
And the funny thing is, I go to church. You know what I mean? So, what church do you go to? I'm not going to actually mention that right now. Probably, I don't even know if I'm ever going to mention it, because it's really not part of the podcast. What I will say is that there are a lot of false churches out there, and then there's a lot of churches that maybe just don't quite hit the mark, I guess, as much as I would like. So now, when it comes to faith, and the reason I bring this up is because some people or some churches, and some people too, if you go into a store right now, think about this: if you go into a Marshall's, Hobby Lobby, stores like that, right? Well, Hobby Lobby, they say they're Christian stores, so maybe that's the reason, but they may have a placard that just says faith. That's all it says.
Yeah,
and
I know
you go
exactly
into Marshall's and it just says have faith, or it says faith, or believe, or whatever the case may be. Believe in what? You know what I mean? Like, to me, I want to have faith, but absolutely, and I want to exercise my faith, but believe in faith and those kind of placards that are out there, and I'm very skeptical about things for some silly reason, but I don't really
live, laugh, love.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? So biblically, though, but it really is a good subject, because I really would love people to understand what faith biblically is, right? So in Hebrews, it says faith depends on the version, but it's, pretty close either way you read it. Faith is being sure of what we hope for, certain of what we do not see, right? That's what it is. And then the other thing about faith is that if you look at the Gospels, and it might not be absolutely direct, but if you read it this way, you understand faith is in a person. Faith is in Christ, right? Faith isn't this thing that we're this. There's this word that I remember a leader actually said, and I latched onto it because it's a perfect word. It's this nebulous thing out there, right? Faith isn't that. Faith is actually what Christ what has Christ done? Do we believe it, and do we have faith in that for our sin, to justify ourselves, and to justify ourselves, to have ourselves justified before God, right? So that's what faith is. It's in a person. So faith is being sure of what we hope for, certain of what we do not see. What are we what are we hopeful for? What are those things that we do not see out there that we're talking about? We're talking about when the Bible talks about stuff like this, it's usually about eternity, eternal things. Okay, if you go into that 11th chapter, I don't know if I want to read it right now, but if you go into the 11th chapter of Hebrews and then read what some people call the Hall of Faith, you think about that first verse, and then the Hall of Faith are people that died for what they believed in. It's crazy. It's like, wait a second, that's the hope that's the hope that God talks about. Well, there's another verse in the Old Testament that says, and it's a really odd verse, and you probably have to be a Christian to really understand what the impact of this, but it says, blessed is in the sight of the Lord are the death of his saints. Mm-hmm. That's what David said, right? David said that. Blessed in the sight of the Lord are the death of his saints, right? So we talked about it a few podcasts ago about eternity or everlasting life or life after death in the Old Testament, right? That's kind of one of them too, if you think about it, because it's like God has brought you home to where he intended you to be, and earth is where you're going to have trials and tribulations, you're going to have tears, you're going to have pain, you're not going to have the joy, right? All the time, right? So heaven is where it says there will be no more tears, no more pain, no more crying, right? And there's other things too, it says, but basically that is after death, you're going to be in that state where you're not going to have all of this stuff where sin corrupts. And that's what God wants for us, right? And so that's what it is. So an eternal hope, faith is really about what Christ has done, faith in him and what he has done, and an eternal hope we have as a result, okay? And the Hall of Faith, like I said, is these... Not all of the people in the Hall of Faith died. Some of them, it says some of them, they did this in the life on the earth, and some of them were beheaded and all these crazy things that happened to the people of the Old Testament, the prophets of old. They were killed for what they believed, but also for their boldness in proclaiming the truth.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean... That's pretty good with the from like the biblical perspective of what we're supposed to believe that like faith is. But can we describe the word any better? Can you describe faith better? So if I have a friend mm-hmm. and I say I have faith in him, mm-hmm. that maybe it means that I know that if something happens or I'm in some sort of trouble or something like that, and I say I have faith in him, then I know that I trust him to help me out when I need help or something like that.
Bingo. I mean, I think that's a really good way of looking at faith. I really do, because if you think about if you think about that attribute that you attributed to a friend, you know that friend will come through when you ask him to come through. Yeah. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Now, faith in Christ is the fact that he already came through and he already did the act that we needed to happen. But it's really like taking this earthly thing and saying this earthly thing is very similar to this heavenly thing of Christ. It's really
that was
very similar. It's
that was the
thing.
Next spot I was about to go with.
It's a great way of describing it.
So you have this faith in like a person or something like that. Mm-hmm. But then there are things like just like the laws of nature, and that's not faith, knowing like the laws of nature or something, knowing that if I take an axe to the base of a tree and eventually I make it all the way through, that the rest of the tree is going to fall over, right?
We don't have faith in gravity, do we?
Yeah, exactly. No. Well, exactly. Like so. That's the question.
I don't know.
That's the thing there. How do you separate the difference? Because I hear a lot of Christians, what they'll say is they say, "Oh, I don't have faith. I know Christ is my Savior." That's what they say, right? You ever hear that one?
I haven't, but that's weird. Yeah, explain that one.
Oh, you've never heard that? Really?
No, I honestly haven't. No,
Oh my goodness.
I'm not trying to get you to talk. I want you to talk because I haven't heard it.
I'm so surprised. Yeah, there are some people that they try to well, it's a way to strengthen. They say like, I don't believe, I don't have faith, I know. I know that Christ is, and I mean, it sounds good on the surface, but your reaction to it is the appropriate reaction. It's like, that's kind of weird, you know what I mean? Because there's a difference, like what I'm trying to say here. There's a difference between knowing, how this world operates, how there's physics and math and things like that. That's knowing, and then faith is something else, right? And do you tie or mix the two at all, or are they completely separate? Because in philosophy, there is an argument that you actually don't know what's going to happen when you chop down a tree. You don't know that it's going to fall. It could not fall. You know what I mean? There's nothing to say that it is going to fall except for your experience that you've already had in the past of trees falling, right? So just because it has happened that way doesn't mean it is going to happen that way. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
So I'm sorry.
No,
I just kind of
fine.
I divided that argument into like 4 different parts there. You know what I mean? And representing multiple viewpoints.
Coffee, that's good.
But yeah, I mean, so how do you separate out the difference of knowledge and faith? Our knowing and faith.
Oh man,
our belief and faith.
I think I don't know. Is there a difference between, for me at least, right? Because remember, we talked about this before. We talked about words actually have meanings, right?
Yeah.
Words have meaning. So what do I mean by that? So I would say,
but the words have meaning to us.
Yeah.
Because if we're speaking to a Chinese person and we just start naturally speaking in English, they're not going to understand a single thing. And the sounds coming out of our mouths have no meaning to them. Mm-hmm. So the meaning is deeper than the sounds coming out of our mouth. The sounds coming out of our mouth don't matter, right? It's the meaning of the word that is more important, and when it connects in your brain. And that's why philosophy is so cool. It's right? It's because you sit there, you figure out what this word actually means to this person and what it actually means to me, and then together you guys, can figure stuff out, supposedly.
So I think belief and faith. I mean, I haven't really thought deeply about that question. So belief and faith, I think, are one and the same to me, right? If someone says, "Do you believe or do you have faith?" It is a future thing, though, right? So when that, what did you say the Christian said? I can't remember that saying. They say, "I don't have faith.
I don't have faith. I know."
I know. Okay,
I know.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean. Yeah, you have faith. You have faith, and I don't know why you would even distinguish between the two. I have faith that and what do I have faith in? I have faith that I know what Christ. I know what Christ has done, and I know the future I have because of what Christ has done. Right? And faith. Now, granted, and this is the hard one for people that are unbelievers or basically agnostics or even atheists. And we talked about, I don't really know if there's a lot of atheists.
That's what the atheists would say. The atheists would say, "Oh yeah, you believe, but you don't know." I could believe. Once again, this is a Richard Dawkins statement. I could believe in this flying spaghetti monster. It doesn't mean that I know there's a flying spaghetti monster out there, and it doesn't mean that there is a flying spaghetti monster out there, right?
Yeah.
That's literally his argument right there.
And granted, he might be right about that. You know what I mean? But I'm going to hold fast to the fact that. And we talked a little bit about this, that what do I believe in the Bible, and do I believe that the Bible is true, right? And do I believe that the Word of God has changed lives that we can't even tangibly understand how it has happened, but it has happened, and we know it. And then we know that the historicity of the Bible is accurate, right? So we put these things together. But also me, I know, and I'm confident that when I die, I'm going to be with God for eternity, right? I know that. and I don't have any fear of dying. So, but does that help me argue with an atheist who says, well, I don't think faith, or how do they put it? But basically, faith is something that they kind of poo-poo and they throw out the window. And I'm thinking, well, that's fine, and I'm not going to be able to argue with them per se. About that, but I can, you can argue about all of the things that the Bible actually holds true, and we know that. But what does that have to do with me believing what Christ has done in the past? That basically I have a certain future after I die with the Lord, right? How do I actually bring the two together? I'm not sure if I can. That is granted, and like I said, like I was going to say, this is the hard one for the atheist or the agnostic or the one who believes in God but really doesn't really get it, so to speak, and isn't a Christian.
Yeah, or the agnostic, or maybe even people of other religions. That
faith, as much as I may want to try to not go that route with someone who's an unbeliever, I have faith. And I am, in the past, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that is part of my anchor for hope. It is, you know what I mean? But again, it is grounded in certain things that we've talked about in the past.
Well, see, just like I had made that argument there, I had told you about, the tree falling. Mm-hmm. You actually don't know if it's going to fall. Actually, you don't know. Here's another one that philosophy came up with that's pretty good. Is you don't actually know if you have been living the last, however old you are. I'm 37, right? So you don't actually know if today isn't your first day of living, and that all your memories are just an implant in your brain upon you waking up in the morning, right? And everything that happened before then is completely fake. You don't really know. Right, there's no way for you to prove it. Mm-hmm. Everything that you could bring forth as evidence would be circumstantial. It's like that was placed there this morning when you woke up, and you think you left it there from the night before, but really that's an implanted memory, right? So, anyways, there's at a certain point in time, even the atheist has to admit, you have to have faith that there was a yesterday, and you have to have faith that there's going to be a tomorrow. You know what I mean? Well, or even faith that you're even actually here. No. Anyways, I might be getting way too deep.
No, but what you're saying there, anything that you grab hold of that you believe, right? There is not everything can be proven 100%. Let's just say that. Yeah. I think hopefully you agree with that. I mean, I'm not a philosopher, but not everything can be proven 100%, right? Yeah. I don't walk into Christianity and say basically I need all of this proof to believe in what the Bible has to say, right? Sometimes you walk into it and you know intuitively that the Bible is true, and then you come to faith in God, and then you start really understanding it better, right?
Yeah.
Because the Bible does talk about it. It talks about the Spirit quickening those who are discerned. Basically, they have the Spirit of God in them, and they will understand the nuances. I hate to say it, they will understand the Bible better than a non-believer. They will. So if the subtleties. And,
well, I mean that's just. Yeah, I mean that's natural. Like if you are studying something, right? If you're studying a textbook in college, right? The more you study that textbook, the more you are likely to know and understand it and everything like that, right? So I mean, anyway, there's a lot of atheists that say that they've read the Bible. And then you start asking them like specific questions like, oh, what did you think about this? Or what do you think about this? And then you find out they didn't read the Bible at all. Like they did not. Like they read like a few passages and then they say, oh yeah, I read the Bible.
There are a bunch of contradictions in the Bible, and you're like, okay, name one. And they either they can't name them, or they have one in the top of their head and they have none other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just like the one is like wildly out of context or something. It's usually something in the Old Testament, and it's usually one about God saying kill all the babies, women, and the cattle of the land, or something like that. Which like context.
Well, I think back to faith though. Anything that you believe in, you're going to have, you may actually have a certain amount of evidence as to why you believe. But none of the beliefs out there, I think at least I believe none of the beliefs out there are are going to be grounded 100% in or 100% provable, right? They're not going to be 100% provable. So what do you believe, and what do you reasonably believe, right? Well, I reasonably believe that the God of the Bible is the God is true, right? And He declared Himself as such. He declared Himself as one who created the heavens and the earth. He declared Himself as God coming down from heaven and came as a man in Jesus Christ and put to death on the cross for the remission of our sins. I believe in the God of the Bible as Jesus who actually died willingly, right? I believe in the God of the Bible as Jesus who was the only one who fulfilled the law, and therefore, because He fulfilled the law that we couldn't, we actually have right standing with God through Him if we believe, right? So, and honestly, once you believe it, you will understand what I'm talking about, right? Like I can't totally reason with someone, right?
Yeah.
There is some things in the Bible where basically it just says it is God who calls that person, right?
Yeah.
All I can do is, it says one waters, one plants. It is God that gives the increase. Well, I have to just be there and hopefully, be there with the person and talk with the person if I have the opportunity. And then God is the one who will be the one who gives him the Spirit or not, right?
Yeah. Well, so another thing that you can look at, Philip, yes.
Yeah, let's go back. I probably drew it. Yeah,
justify. Yeah, you got a little preachy there. No, no, nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. but
hey, better than politics, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No. So, oh God, I kind of lost my train of thought there. For a minute, I was thinking about the atheist, or the evolutionist. Sorry, not the atheist, the evolutionist. The evolutionist has a big problem too, is because everything that they could present forth as evidence is in the same manner. It is not 100% provable. Like you can't prove it. It's all speculative. Right? You speculate that this bone goes to this bone, or you speculate that this bone was from an ancestor. You speculate, you know what I mean? And on top of that, you intentionally use faulty measurement devices, such as carbon dating. Anyways, so the other thing about that though, I was thinking about. I can't hold on to it. Whatever it is, on.
Well, no, I got you. I mean, but you're talking. I mean, you're talking about something that you have to look at the evidence, and then you basically have faith in in the pieces of the evidence that you may not be able to explain, or basically aren't there, or whatever the case may be.
Oh,
but you extrapolate from the evidence, and you say, this is where it leads me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So there's another type of evidence though too, and this is where I was going to go with this. There's something in the Bible that talks about you'll know them by their fruits, right? Basically,
do you want me to tell you what that's all about? Go ahead.
Oh, well, basically, when you see groups of people, and he was talking about avoiding politics here. When you look at left wing politics, and you see. There's one thing that they say, and then there's another thing that they do, right? And when you see that thing that they do, that's who they really are, and you can tell by what they're doing whether or not they're good or bad, right? And so you can and you can infer that higher into ideals and into basically political arenas, right? If you have a whole group of people and they all profess one thing and they're all doing something, and you look at that thing and you say, that's pretty evil. It doesn't matter what they're saying or how much of a group they look like. This is how cults are formed, basically, right? So the cult leader tells them all these good things that are going to happen, all these amazing things that happen, but then the cult goes out and kills people. We're talking about like Charlie Manson, you
Mhm.
know, when that happens, the fruit of that group was evil. And so
Mhm.
therefore, that everything they had to say, you throw away. You know what I mean? Because it was clearly evil. So
Yeah.
it also, so when you look at Christianity,
Mhm.
right? And we're talking about true Christianity, and then we're also there's also a big, whole huge thing about like bad historical writings or understanding of what like really happened, like the Crusades, right?
Mhm.
Like for some reason people think like the Crusades were evil, which like it never made sense to me. It doesn't make sense at all, because if you know the actual history of the Crusades, what the Crusades are is Israel has uh, an ally, and their ally is the rest of Europe, basically, right? And so when allies call on other allies for help when they're being attacked, right? That's what
Mhm.
happened. So Israel calls to the rest of them and says, "Hey, we're being attacked by the Muslims
Mhm.
of this region, and we need help." And so then the Christians send in their army to help the Israel army, right?
Mhm.
That's what the Crusades were,
Okay.
right? It would be the same. It was the same way that we went and fought in Europe to fight against Germany and the Nazis, right? It was the same thing. They're over there. They call us to aid, and we him hawed, and we didn't want to go for a long ass time, and then
Mhm.
finally we said, okay, well we'll come, and then but that's what it is. And then of course war is always horrific and so on and so forth. But the point is, if you look at the roots, the true roots of like Christianity and what Christianity has led to, it has all been good things, right? It's like we have modern medicine because of Christianity, right? Doctors, right? Things like that. Those were all Christian inventions, right? Charities, so on and so forth.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because there are, back to the evidence thing, right? What are the things that Christians have done, right?
Yeah.
Now let's not deny that this world is a messy place. Let's not deny that humans are absolutely messy. You know what I mean? Period. I don't care if you're Christian or not, right? And there are people that are not Christian that can do wonderful things, right? They have done. But holistically, if you look at hospitals, if you look at convalescent homes, if you look at medicine, and I'm not talking, I mean, the modern medicine, that's a whole different thing, and I don't want to get political on that. But if you're talking about, about the, in the 1800s and some of the medicine that actually happened, these people were Christian and they were trying to find a cure for things, right? And
Yeah.
they were passionate about it. If you read some of their writings, they were passionate about it because of the fact that God gave them a gift, and they were trying to exercise their gift to save people, right?
Yeah.
And so, again, hospitals, the same, schools, learning facilities, right? There were a lot of, if you think about non-Christian, I'm not talking, like Catholic, let's not talk about Catholic, because that's a whole different thing, but about non-Christian versus Christian, right? Institutions. These Christian institutions were the ones that said we need education, right? We need kids to learn, right?
Yeah.
They were the ones that were more on the forefront of having kids learn to read and write and all these other things. Christians aren't the ones, I hate to say it, that are backwards in that. They're the ones that were the forward thinkers in those things,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Well, once again,
that's just
a
evidence
twisting
that,
of history,
yeah.
because once was it the Rockefellers? Once they got a hold of the education system, right? It shifted, so it became a different thing. The Rockefellers didn't want people to actually learn stuff. They wanted them to be good factory workers, right?
Mhm.
That's the quote that he says. He says I don't want people to be educated. I want people to be good factory workers, or something like that. That's,
Yeah, you mentioned the Rockefellers, you mentioned the Crusades. I don't want to act. I'm ignorant of those things, I should say. So,
Yeah.
I plead the fifth on that one, I guess.
well, it's
you know,
funny. It's
you know.
not like anybody. nobody denies like that, like things happen.
Mm-hmm.
People just change what it means that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the Crusades, right? So the Crusades happened, we know that,
Yeah.
right? And so then what, you know, the other side will say is, oh, it was a bad thing. But where did you guys get that information from? Because when you look at the actual information, it looks like a good thing. You know what I mean? And it just there's more to it, right? And so there's tons of things in history like that. The same thing with the Rockefellers. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, these were big, you know, people that kind of like helped lift up the country and everything like that. But the thing is what they said. You know what I mean? Some of the things that they said were like absolutely horrible. You know, so.
They were, gosh, I can't even think of the word. You know, the people that give the charities and have these, you know, big organizations.
Yeah.
Anyway, it could be. I mean, they could have been evil as all get up. I don't even know. They probably
like the Kennedys are looked on back as being, you know, like pretty good people. You know what I mean? They're usually like I would say in the modern day and age they're not considered bad people, but I mean, if you actually go back and look at the history, the Kennedys were pretty crooked, pretty crazy people. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I mean, the dad helping the kids get into politics and pulling purse strings to do such. I mean, I've heard that, but I don't know.
Once
I don't
again,
know the details,
I mean, it is going back. It's obviously outside of my generation, but
yeah, I don't know the detail. You know, but it's interesting. So let me just mention this because this is kind of interesting when it comes to the church. You know what I mean? And Paul talked about that, and this is where I actually mentioned it on previous podcasts. It's not like I don't listen to politics and I don't actually have my ear to the tracks a bit, right? Just because I want to kind of understand the sense of the place that I'm living locally, and then maybe as a nation, I want to kind of understand the sense of it, right? And the pulse. I want the pulse of it, but I don't do it 24/7. I used to actually watch the news quite a bit, and it raised my blood pressure, but I wasn't able to do anything about it, right?
yeah.
But back to what the Bible says. The Bible, there are some interesting passages in the Bible. One of them actually Paul actually mentions, and Paul basically was talking about judging. He says, like he was basically saying, we don't even judge the outside. We judge within the church, right? Because in other words, if the church doesn't have it right, right,
take care of ourselves first.
Then basically I'm worthless to the flock and I'm worthless to the world.
It's like Jesus saying, take the mote out of your eye before you take the splinter out of somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
That's also though part of what I was talking about with that. Sorry, I don't want to get too far back into this.
No, go for it.
But with the police thing, right? The police thing is, or even. Let's take this to a bigger. We're talking about having faith in people. Mm-hmm. So if you have a friends group and say we have a shit hit the fan moment, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like, you know, the beginning of the apocalypse or something like that, right? There are.
Oh my gosh, I have another Twilight Zone that just came to my head on that. But go ahead.
But you're gonna have to have people that you can trust.
Yeah.
And have faith in. You're going to have people that you have faith in order to survive, right? Yeah. And when you're in that situation, you have to take every situation to the extreme, you know, of I have to protect myself first, because if I don't protect myself, I can't protect you, right? When you're in the army and everything like that, you know, your number one priority is you. If your buddy gets shot, it's the scene from God, what's that movie? What's the Vietnam movie?
Private Ryan, or no, I don't even know.
Full Metal Jacket.
See, these are movies I haven't seen.
Full Metal Jacket. At the end, right? The sniper girl is shooting them, right? And instead of being concerned about themselves, they keep trying to go and save the guy that got shot. And every time they do, they're just getting themselves shot.
They're getting picked off.
And she's just picking them off one by one by one. And instead, you should be more concentrating on yourself and taking care of the threat, because when you do that, then you can go back and save the other guy. They teach you that when we're breaching doors in the military, right? 4 of us run in through a door. Now, it's very possible that there's a person waiting on the other side of the door that's just going to start shooting, right? If the person in front of you falls, you keep going forward and you take care of the threat first. Then you go back and try to save your buddy behind you.
Okay.
So, anyways.
Now I forgot what I was going to say.
That was a little wild.
No,
it was a little bit of a tangent. But I hope you understand how it connects back to that faith. How you gotta have trust in your buddies, and you do have to take care of yourself first. So as you're saying, as the church is more concentrating on making sure each other is solid first, you know what I mean? It makes sense. You know, you can make a very, very strong argument that does need to happen.
I need to go rewatch. There's 2 Twilight Zones that are going to mind on this. I just have these, I don't know, these weird thoughts.
So good. The Twilight Zones.
There's one of them where basically there's aliens in the sky and they make things happen on Earth in a certain neighborhood, right? And then basically the people start turning on each other. Have you seen that one? And then so that's one of them. But there's another one where I think the guy has like a fallout shelter, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like everyone is friends until basically the stuff whatever hits the fan, and then you start realizing, wait a sec, who are the friends and who aren't the friends? Well, I think the family wanted to save themselves, who actually had who were the ones that prepped for something like this, an event for something like this.
Yeah.
And people were mad because they hadn't prepared for it. You know what I mean? And sometimes you only understand, right, when you're talking about having faith in someone, you only understand who you can rely on when stressful events in life happen.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so sometimes we, and so anyway, go ahead.
My girlfriend gets mad at me because every once in a while something will happen, and I will start barking commands at both my son and her. I'm like, move, you know what I mean? Do something, do what I'm telling you to do now. We can talk about it later, but this has to be done now, because you know what I mean? It happens rarely, and it's not like it's something that happens all the time or something, but it has come up before, And actually, like, the funny thing is me and my police officer friend, We've talked about it many times about how
we'll call him Mr. T.
Yeah, Mr. T. Yeah. If it were to ever get to an actual apocalyptic scenario, like, me and him have our plans, and we know exactly what we would do, and we know exactly how we're gonna do. We've already talked it all out. so me and him have great faith in each other.
Okay, well, I probably need to talk to you after this podcast because I haven't prepared enough.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're gonna be following me, or else if you ain't following me, you're gonna be on your own. No.
I have not bought the bags of rice and those buckets of freeze-dried food or whatever they are.
What the funny thing is we actually did buy a bunch of bags of rice and beans and stuff, and we've had them for so long, some of them started going bad.
Oh, you too? We did the same thing a while ago.
It is a good idea. I'm not saying it's a bad idea not to have extra food and everything like that, but it's like, it does go bad. Like, we had bought some ramen noodles, and I was under the impression ramen noodles lasted 10 years or something. Yeah. We actually had a box that went bad, and we almost ate them. And they had been bad for a while.
there are certain things if there's a eat by date or whatever in the fridge.
Yeah.
Like, if it's lunch meat, man, it's out of there way before that date. If it's bread, a week after is fine.
Yeah.
But raw meat, you just gotta cook it pretty quickly. So
yeah.
But anyway, I don't even know what we were talking about here.
They're fun little tangents, but I don't think you and I have any any real disagreement on what faith is or anything like that. It's like there's, yeah, like I said, it's something that's it's something a little bit deeper, and it's something different than just provable 100%, you know what I mean, based in our reality. Even then I can break down that argument, and I've already done that, you know.
It is, but you know, it's just a matter of you know, someone actually talking about, you know, me believing in, you know, me having faith in this God of the Bible or whatever the case may be. You know, I'm not offended if someone actually says, well, you know, oh, you have faith. Well, I can prove otherwise, or whatever the case may be, or I can prove my belief systems, you know, better than yours, and I don't need to have faith in that, right? Or something like that. That's kind of the, you know, the gist of it. Well, I mean, I'm not offended by that, you know, and evidentiary. I can, you know, there's people that are 100 times better than me when it comes to the evidence of the Bible, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe, you know, turn to those people, look at those people, take a look at what they have is true, right? I'm not going to, you know, argue for that per se. I mean, I have a few little quips about that, but I would say that there's a lot more evidence for the authenticity of the Bible than it is any other belief system out there, whether it be, you know, some written belief system or just some belief system in someone's head, right? But I do want to, you know, now that you say that, I think it would be good to actually just read this. Let me see what this says. So I know where. Okay, so this is a little bit different version. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for. Now, we talked about hope in a previous podcast, right? Hope in the Bible isn't, gosh darn, I hope my team wins the Super Bowl, you know. Those pesky Raiders haven't done anything lately. I just gave it away, you know. I mean,
here we are in like Kansas City, like area.
Well, yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're kind of in the Midwest, you know.
like so many of my friends are Kansas City fans.
Yeah,
and I mentioned that I'm a Raiders fan. They're like, oh.
Yeah, I know.
Like I don't know if I can have you over anymore.
Yeah. Go Eagles! No. Yeah. That was a great Super Bowl, by the way. But anyway, the assurance of things hoped for. We talked about hope, right? Hope is something that you grab hold of because there's a truth attached to it. It's not like I hope that my team wins, right? The conviction of things not seen. I haven't seen Christ. I've never met Christ physically here on earth, right? Mm-hmm. Christ didn't appear to me in a dream. He didn't appear to me in a room like these crazy people talk about.
Yeah.
They go to heaven all the time. Christ visits him in a room all the time. Don't listen to those Looney Tunes. But I have not seen it, but I believe it. For by it the people of old received their commendation. But listen to this. By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. So we talked about, in the beginning, you asked me in the very first podcast, like, does the Bible, is there anything in the Bible that where it says, hey, here's proof of God or something like that? I can't remember how you put it, but I thought about it. I thought, well, it really just kind of goes straight into God exists, and he doesn't try to prove himself biblically, right? Like this, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And then in the first chapter of John, it says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Well, it's interesting right there.
Jesus,
it said the read it again where it says the Word. The universe was created by the
faith.
Word.
We understand that the universe was created by the Word of God. God
by
spoke.
The Word. But it's interesting that it uses the word, right? Mm-hmm. So we were talking about that language thing, right?
We talked even about the word in a previous podcast. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, well, we understand Jesus to be the word.
Yeah.
I understand that biblically, but on a deeper level here, right? How do you even begin to recognize the world around you, right? You have to label things. You have to give things names, right? Mm-hmm. This is a microphone. Right. Mm-hmm. And by calling it a microphone, I have separated it out from everything else. I have divided in a way, I have divided this thing from everything else. I've divided it from the table. I've divided it from me and you. You get what I'm saying? So it's like like language itself is like necessary to even have an experience.
Well,
I guess.
like what you're talking about. If you're talking to someone who is, I think, Japanese, Chinese, it doesn't matter what country.
Yeah.
But if they are like me, they only know one language, right? And I only know one language. They only know one language, and we have these sounds out of our mouths, and we can't even communicate because they have a meaning for what they're saying. I have a meaning for what I'm saying, and we can't even communicate because I cannot interpret the meaning of what they're trying to tell me, right? At all.
But the interesting thing is you guys would both recognize a tree as a tree. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys would both recognize that there is a thing there that is a tree, and you guys wouldn't say that it's
an elephant,
two or three different things.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't say that it's. Gosh, I'm trying to explain this. Like it's still its own separate thing. Mm-hmm. Like you can. This is how you divide things out. This is why the word is like necessary for like I said, this experience that we're having. I'm trying to get to this. This is like it's somewhere in my mind here.
Think about it. Let me read on a little bit, but I'm just going to throw this out there and I'll read on. You and I talked about the kind of this weird concept of trying to think about it. So okay, actually, this is not a very good example, right? But I have these cups. You and I talked about this. Where somehow we understand, like if I say this is a cup and this is a cup, and then there's a third or fourth object, and they're cups, right?
This isn't a cup.
That's not a cup. We all know that whether or not we speak the same language or not, we understand that these
that's
right here,
saying,
utility wise, are of the same family, so to speak, and this has nothing to do with that family, right?
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing in our brain that we're able to do these wonderful things, and we're able to correlate these two as one. Kids can even do that. You know what I mean? Kids can even do that. They know what this is, and they know what this is. They understand they're different, but they understand they're both to hold liquid for you to drink out of.
There's something deeper there. There's something deeper there.
Think about that, though.
That I'm trying to get to.
Okay, let me read on. Let me read on that. That was something I just thought I'd trigger that in your brain because I remember that discussion, and it was oddly awesome. Anyway, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. So we know that the universe is here, and we know that it was created out of, we know it was created out of nothing to something, where other people will say, well, there was a something and the universe came out of something. Well, where did the something come from? We have that argument, right? But by faith, this is the Cain and Abel thing. By faith, Abel offered to God a more acceptable sacrifice than Cain, through which he was commended as righteous. And through his faith, although he died, he still speaks. So he was faithful, and he died, and his brother killed him, right? By faith, Enoch was taken up that he should not see death. So that was different. Now, before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God. And without faith, this is interesting. Without faith, think about this, because we want to have reason, like you said, that saying that Christians say. I would have a disagreement biblically, right? I would say rethink how you're actually wording this, because it says without faith, it is impossible to please him. Please God is what it's talking about.
Yeah.
For whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists, right? I have faith that he exists even though I can't see or touch him, and that he rewards those who seek him, right? Talks about Noah, but through this, it talks about these people that by faith is talking about Abraham. He went to live in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, living in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs of him of the same promise. For he was looking forward. Here's the thing I think that we need to latch onto. For he was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God, right? Now the city think about this. In Revelation, it talks about a new heaven and a new earth, right?
And
the city is after we die, and then it talks about people that were killed for their faith, and how weird is that? God's going to reward us, and yet you might die here on earth for your faith? That is nuts. That's not a life I want to live. Like think about it. But I have faith that that this life is like a vapor compared to eternity. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm still stuck on this. Going back to the word thing.
Yeah.
The word being used to create the universe. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on it. I can't keep going forward with where you're on.
Okay.
I'm stuck back there.
Do you have something to say yet, or do you want me to read on?
Well, no, because it's like I said, you have to be able to identify things, right? How does your mind identify what things are? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have an inner monologue. You do too, right? You said you have an inner monologue. You hear your own voice in your head when you think, right?
I can't remember what I said there. I was
right now.
I can't remember what I said.
Right now, think a thought. Okay. What happened?
Oh, I guess it is. I guess it is kind of my words coming out of my mouth and my brain.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That's called an inner monologue. Now,
okay.
Now apparently, Mom says she doesn't have that. Mom says she. Like some people say that they see colors or shapes or something like that, and somehow that affects how they think or whatever. Very strange, man. But so like I'm thinking of like in this experience in this human body, right? How do you even recognize that you are inside of a world or anything like that? I could assume. I could even assume that you're not real, and that I'm the only real person in the entire universe or something like that.
And I could do the same. No.
No. I mean that's part of that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the argument is anybody can make this. Anybody can make this. How do you recognize what things are? How do you recognize that there are things, and that it isn't all just one jumbled mass? You ever there's a blind.
Is that why philosophers go crazy?
Yeah. You come to these spots because there's something deeper there, and if you could just figure out how to put it into words, you would have like a fundamental truth of the universe, basically. Yeah, it's what they try to do. It's what you're trying to do. That's how they discover those things, like Plato's cave, right? You're really thinking of this really abstract situation where the world is an illusion in front of you, right? It's okay, like what do I know? You know what I mean? And the way Plato ended up figuring out, or what the analogy in the cave says, is that this world is an illusion, but once you go beyond the illusion, there's a whole nother world out there. You're just in a tiny little bubble right now, basically, and the world is being controlled and puppeted by somebody else.
Was that but so did he believe in a god or not? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of them did, like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. They certainly all believed in like at least some sort of higher power, but it was probably just Greek mythology. It was probably,
I wonder if Shakespeare believed in God, because he quoted the Bible like
a lot.
Yeah, a gargantuan amount. I forgot the number.
The question is, who was Shakespeare? Was he really a duke of? You hear about that? Shakespeare is just his pen name. They don't know who he really was.
Yeah.
But yeah. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. Well, it goes back to I told you we want to watch that movie, The Seventh Seal. Right?
We do. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, the guy, when he made the movie, the director, was proclaiming himself to be an atheist, but and he had grown up in like a heavy Catholic background or something like that, and the movie is so religious. It's like Yeah, I don't even know. It's like, what was he trying to get out? It's so insane. I mean, some of the things that you learn in that movie are just so incredible. I mean, and they're like that, like those philosophical things I told you about. When you come to them, when you realize it, that that's a truth. It kind of like shocks you, and you're kind of like, oh, now I have a completely different way of looking at that subject. In this case, in that movie, it's death, right? The whole movie is about death. He's always talking to death, right? The
Are we going to watch it together? Is that what
Yeah, oh,
you're-
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
together, yes.
All right.
It'll be interesting because I think the version I have is only subtitles, so you're gonna have to read subtitles, man.
Oh no.
Yeah. Maybe there's a dub version.
Make sure it's 6th grade or lower, okay? If you can actually choose the subtitles,
Yeah, it's a pretty. Anyways, but yes, that is why
Okay.
philosophers go crazy. Yes, philosophers go crazy because, especially if you want to hold on to it, like Nietzsche, he basically went crazy. They have his red book is what it's called. It's
He was 18th century, right? Or 19th century?
19th century.
19th
Yeah,
century. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Same time.
He
as-
was an atheist, though,
same
right?
time as Freud. Oh,
Wasn't
I don't
Nietzsche an
know. The
atheist?
things that he talks about, he's talking about metaphysical things.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about this inner self inside of you, and I mean, I guess if you want to interpret it to be his God,
Mm.
you could. It's interesting. He certainly believed in some sort of metaphysical deeper thing inside of him, for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess here's where I'm at with that. So I want to watch that movie, and I don't think. I mean, it's not a bad thing to know more about philosophy, because I do think that everyone has has philosophical thought. I do, right? Whether again, we talked about it. I think we talked about it actually in one of our first podcasts. Everyone has a philosophy. It's just a matter of, is it good, bad, and different? You know what I mean? Like everyone sort of has a thought process, right? Would that
thought
be?
process, not a philosophy though. Philosophy is more like math. Good philosophy should be math. It should be.
But can
it should
you
be
have
this-
philosophy that's not good?
Yeah, but then it'd be like it'd be like having bad math because
Okay.
so what happens is, right, so say we're building a building, right,
Mhm.
or we're
Yeah.
building a project, a deck, let's say,
Mhm.
right, and I'm doing the math for how long the boards should be, and I cut one too short, I can't go back. I've got a deck now that's a bad deck,
Mhm.
right, and so now it doesn't work, right. So, and you should be able to recognize that. So good philosophy in the same manner.
I did okay on the deck out there though last week, right?
yeah, you do. but philosophy is supposed to be a series of statements that are basically this statement plus this statement equals this statement, right? So
Okay.
you're trying to put together, and if you break from that, if there's a problem, and there are fallacies, right? You can say this statement equals this statement, and then there are very specific rules that they have, and they'll say, okay, that doesn't work because that's a straw man, or that doesn't work because it's an appeal to authority, that doesn't work because it's a blah blah blah, so on and so forth. There are a bunch of them, but there are specific rules. It's just like math. You can't break those rules, and if you've broken those rules, well, then you have to go back and start over.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's my I don't even know if it's an approach to it per se, because I guess I'm at peace not understanding philosophy as much as you do. I really am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well-
because I don't I can maybe go into thought about, like, is my reality real, and the fact that you're in front of me, you're just a figment of my imagination, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or I'm an illusion,
You know,
or I'm a puppet from the puppet master. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could go into those thoughts, which is fine too, I guess, but I want to. I'm fine where I'm at, I guess, is what. And I don't want to just
live. I mean,
what's that?
It wouldn't be an appropriate way to live. And actually,
Like my view or your view?
believing that other people aren't conscious. or aren't having the shared experience, at least.
How can I, like,
believing that other people are an illusion? Like Jordan Peterson says that. He says that doesn't work. You know what I mean? Believing that other people are an illusion or something like that, you run into all sorts of troubles. You know what I mean?
Like what? How can that person hurt me?
And no. Like, first of all, just people don't like being treated that way. You know what I mean? Imagine you go around treating people like that. It turned out pretty bad. You know,
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, think about it. If you really thought everybody was an illusion, and you thought this whole world was just an illusion, then you thought it was just your playground. You could just go around doing whatever you want.
Oh man,
leads to bad thoughts.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
So you certainly don't want to believe that. You want to believe that everybody else is conscious. And
you're unique. I'm unique.
Yeah, and that we're sharing an experience, and we're each a part of it, and that's what leads to, better discourse.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, seeing eye to eye. Yeah, because I mean, like when you believe that the other person has a value in the same way that you have value, and if you value yourself and you value them as much as you value yourself, then together you guys are going to want to work together. You're going to want to work with the other person, and you're going to want to make life better for both of you. So.
Okay, but if you're a figment of my imagination, I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah, then why would I care?
Okay.
I don't care anyways, So. You like that stuff, huh?
No, it's good.
It's that kind of philosophical stuff.
But you got me off the Bible reading. No, it's kidding. You got me off the Bible reading.
No,
sideswiped me.
But this is my deeper thing that I believe is I believe this stuff is inside the Bible. I believe you have to find it. You have to appropriately figure out where the Bible talks, and it does, because right in the beginning, we're all made in the image of God. So if you truly believe that we're all made in the image of God, we all have value. We all have, something that makes us incredible inside of us. And so I think when you have good philosophy, and this is what I had told you before, if you have really good philosophy, if it's true, if you're doing your philosophy correctly, it should add up the same way and it should align with the Bible completely. If it doesn't, then there's a problem somewhere. It's the problem's either with your philosophy. You've either cut your board too short on your deck,
and I hate
or you're misinterpreting the Bible. You're not reading it correctly.
Yeah, something you just reminded me of, and I heard this just the other day as a reminder, where God created the things, right? He created the animals, and he said, and it was good, right? And then he created man, and he said it was very good.
Yeah.
Isn't
that insane?
Yeah, it's just interesting, those little subtleties that we see in the Bible. So that that sometimes you read it and you're like, I didn't catch that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
a good
but
one.
you talked about man, him creating man and basically in the image of God. Well, everything else was good. The animals were good. It was good, but man, very good.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes. You good?
I'm good. This one I think was quite different, maybe it was settled down after the last one, where basically it was
we'll have a more contentious one next time. No, I'm joking. No, I tell you, I really was. I think I was pretty rattled from that, and you have to understand, being a cop, and I watch cop videos like every day, right? And once again, one of my friends is a cop. So it's prevalent. It's still prevalent in my mind. And maybe this is like a little bit of PTSD or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even the video today I watched was of a man, basically an innocent man getting shot. Okay. You know what I mean? And it's so prevalent right now in my mind, because I see it all the time, that it becomes a subject I am kind of passionate about, because I think it ties right into the whole politics and Charlie Kirk thing. It's like what you have is this erosion, this breakdown of society. Actually, me and my girlfriend talked about it. It's basically the story of Babel. It's the story of Babel. The country is too big and it's too diverse, not diverse as in like racially or anything like that. I'm talking about ideologically. it's too diverse because there's too many people in different corners of the country that believe different things. When I first moved here, because we moved here from California, I grew up in California. Moving here, the first like day of work, I was talking to some people, and the way I was talking, there were several times where they stopped me and they said, "Hey, wait, hold on a second. What'd you just say? What does that mean?" You know what I mean? And they're common phrases that I grew up with that I said like all the time. And if I go and I talk to somebody in California, they know exactly what I'm saying. But I come over here to the Midwest and I try talking to somebody, and they might not know exactly what I'm saying. You know what I mean? There's literally a language difference between the South and the West, you know, or the Upper East. You know what I mean? People call soda pop up in Michigan, you know what I mean? They don't call it pop down here. They call it soda down here. Over in California, we called it Coke, you know what I mean? Regardless if it was Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, or Coke, we called it a Coke.
Yeah, give me Coke. What kind? Root beer.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. So that's what you have. Like all these things are connected. It's all part of basically our society breaking down, right? It's hard to say exactly. It's almost like you can't even identify what the catalyst is, right? You would say, actually, what we would say is the catalyst is the lack of Christianity or something like that. You would say, you know, a lack of some sort of unifying religious undertone, values, the lack of values. That's probably it. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying, though?
I do. We could probably. I wouldn't mind kind of tabling this for another one, because
this might be our next episode.
You brought up something, and again, we've been talking for quite a while. We usually actually take a break in the middle here. So let's try to conclude. This is your podcast, but you know, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind probably trying to conclude this. But you said something, right, that kind of made me think, right? When we're talking about, you know, when we're talking about lack of values, there are. Hey. Oh. So lack. We're talking about lack of values. Now, there are Christian organizations who try to put forth this value system. I'm not in disagreement of it per se, but they think that a value system to a non-Christian is going to change the people into Christian people. It is, you know, and I don't know how to actually articulate it just now, but it's just this weird thing where I think you have to be a Christian before your value changes. Your values don't change before you become a Christian, right? You're putting kind of the cart before the horse, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, and so I would say when it comes to, if you look at this world, and you have to admit, and people still don't admit it, and for me it's quite obvious if you just look at the world, that there is evil around us, there is sin around us, and there's people that do absolutely crazy things that we cannot. Like, we try to understand it, we try to explain it, but sometimes it's just, you know, it's just that we live in a bad, sinful world.
Well,
right?
you just reminded me. You back to my question on like, what was it, episode 2? Is society evil? Because all that evil stuff that you see is from people, and in society, you wouldn't go out into the woods and you see a wolf, you know, hunt down a rabbit and kill a rabbit. You wouldn't say that's evil. You wouldn't say that's sinful. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Let me just say that you look at some of the horrible events that happen in the world, and you've got to wonder why. You've got to wonder why. And I think it's good for us to just go, why is it like this, like that? And those people that say, well, deep down they had a good heart. I mean, like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, this person wasn't like that. I didn't, Johnny next door to me. I never saw that in him, or I never saw that in her to go ahead and do that heinous act. Well, then why the heck did they do that? You know what I mean?
Because they're crazy. Because they're not mentally
yeah.
okay. Because they're not mentally
Yeah.
well. People are good at hiding it too. Especially if they fear repercussion or something like that. See we're all the way back at the beginning. Of our first few episodes. I'm all the way back to defending everybody. Everybody's innocent. Everybody goes to heaven. No, I'm joking.
No, but I'll tell you what. There is a song from Elton John. I think it's on Captain Fantastic. I got to think about this. Gosh darn.
What does he say?
He's always taken interest in the subject that he's thought, but what is it that brought the squad car screaming up the drive to notify your parents of the in which he died or something like that. And then and it's just this song that basically it's like this quiet child, and then something just radically happened to that quiet child. He just went crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, we talked about Elton John. We talked about Twilight Zones. What's Twilight Zones, man? I'm not saying go there for biblical truth, but there was some insight, from the creators of Twilight Zone that just talked about the craziness of society. One of the best lines in Twilight Zone overall is you cannot. What he says, you cannot get rid of God by edict. What I mean? I can't read. He didn't say get rid of. I think you cannot delete God by edict.
Yeah.
And I thought that was one of the best lines, because the government was trying to squash this guy because he was no good to society anymore. He was an old man. But anyway, that's beside the point. We're just talking right here. So I think it might be good to conclude.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. See you guys around. Thanks very much for watching. If you're still sticking around here, give us a like, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, it'd be nice for rate us. We'll continue to do this every new episode. We'll address any comments. If you guys leave comments on the shorts or on the full episode, and I'll keep uploading those shorts because they're doing really good. They're doing really good. So other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Yeah. Either next time, I guess we'll. I kind of really want to do that episode where we watch the Seventh Seal.
You've talked about that. We're going to at some point. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And we might not.
And you're going on vacation, not in the next episode, but the episode after that. So I'm gonna have probably have Callahan back on again. So.
Oh man, watch episode 7 if you want to watch a very good episode. It was the one that I was not sitting in the seat. Someone else was. A 15-year-old kid.
Callahan was.
Very good.
Yeah. He was very, very smart. It's funny, the algorithm didn't really like that episode too much, though. I think it's just because of how low his voice was. I think on the next one, I'm going to turn his mic up a little bit, and I'm going to move the mic a little bit closer to his mouth and make sure he keeps it up. But
he didn't fluctuate enough for basically the tool to make shorts out of, right? Is what you're talking about, yeah.
Anyways, all right, guys. Thanks very much. Guys, have a wonderful day.
That was a different